Welcome to our channel Book by Book. We are getting into a resource today that I think promises to solve one of the most frustrating problems of modern life.
Oh, for sure. The feeling of being completely swamped. Right?
Exactly. The chaos, the distraction, the feeling of being busy all day, but unfulfilled.
Yeah.
Today's summary is Powerful Focus by the productivity expert Thibaut Meurisse. It was published in 2021, part of his very successful productivity series.
And this book is really for anyone who's ever felt like they're just running on a treadmill. You're checking off dozens of little tasks, you're in meetings all day, you're exhausted by the end of it.
Right.
But those big, meaningful projects, they just haven't moved an inch. It's for the person who is, let's say, great at tactics, but completely lost on strategy.
That's a perfect way to put it. And Meurisse, he just nails this problem that feels so universal, but also so modern. We're all tied to our devices. The world is buzzing with notifications.
All the time.
Social media feeds are literally engineered to steal our attention. And we have this 24/7 connectivity, this flood of urgent emails that just keeps us fighting fires.
And our attention spans are just shattered.
Completely. Our priorities are scattered across, 1,000 open browser tabs, and we're just constantly overwhelmed. You start the day with these big plans, and you end it feeling like you got nothing truly important done.
And the beauty of Powerful Focus is how direct it is. It's a really slim book. It's designed to be read fast and, more importantly, put into action immediately. It's basically a 7-day plan.
So our mission today is to really pull out that core wisdom for you, to help you reclaim that mental clarity, sharpen your concentration.
And really to install the systems you need to line up your daily actions with your actual long-term goals. It's like an attention detox that gives you back control.
Okay, so let's unpack the central idea right away, because it's a huge paradigm shift that really makes everything else in the book work.
It is.
Meurisse just challenges this whole idea that focus is some kind of innate trait that you either have or you don't. The core idea is that focus is a skill.
Yes. A skill that has to be trained and developed and maintained over time.
Most people just assume that deep focus requires some kind of magical discipline or just this painful, raw willpower.
Right. They think, oh, I'm just not disciplined enough. But Meurisse flips that completely. He argues that powerful focus isn't found by just grinding harder. It's synthesized through a really clear 3-part formula.
Okay, what are the 3 parts?
First, you need absolute clarity about your purpose. Second, you need to practice the ruthless elimination of distractions.
Ruthless. I like that.
And finally, you need a simple, repeatable system to tie it all together.
What's so interesting about that is how much it's about preparation and architecture rather than just effort in the moment.
Exactly. It's counterintuitive, but if you're constantly struggling to focus, the problem probably isn't you. It's the system and the environment you've built for yourself.
So it's not about trying harder.
It's about structuring your life so that focus becomes the easy default, and distraction is the thing that takes effort. And you do that by knowing what you want, simplifying your inputs, and building these strong rituals that protect your willpower.
And this brings us to the big why now.
Yeah.
Why is this more important in, say, 2024 than ever before?
Because in this digital age, attention is the ultimate currency. It's the bottleneck to actually achieving anything meaningful.
It's a limited resource.
It's a very limited resource. And those who master it get this huge competitive edge. It translates into higher quality work, more creativity, better decisions, and even deeper relationships. I mean, if you can control your attention, you basically control your reality. You choose what grows in your life and what withers away.
That sets the stage perfectly. So let's get into that first pillar of the plan, which Meurisse says is so critical that nothing else works without it, and that is clarity.
The foundational truth. You just can't focus if you don't know where you're going. It's like trying to launch a satellite without an orbit. Just a total waste of energy.
And he recognizes that the biggest barrier for most of us isn't even the distraction itself. It's the ambiguity underneath it all. We're just reacting to the world because we haven't given our brain a better mission.
Exactly. Which is why the book starts immediately with this exercise, the 15 questions exercise. It's designed to force that clarity.
And what's the point of these questions?
The point is to strip away all the superficial stuff. The things society or social media have told us we should want, and to get down to the true motivations that actually energize you.
Now, I know some listeners might hear that and think, oh, another questionnaire, I've done those.
Yeah.
But he's very specific about how you need to do this, right?
Oh, absolutely. This isn't something you do while scrolling on your phone. You need to block out, say, 30 to 45 minutes of uninterrupted time Get a physical notebook and really go deep.
And the questions themselves are designed to push you.
They are. A prompt like, what do you really, really want? It sounds so basic, but it forces you past vague words like success into something concrete. Is it mastering a skill? Is it freedom to travel? What does it actually look like?
And then there are those hypothetical questions that unlock your limiting beliefs. I think one was, if you had all the time and money in the world, what would you do?
That's a crucial one because it takes the fear of security off the table. And another great one is, what feels so natural to you that you wonder why other people struggle with it?
That's a good one.
That question points you directly toward your innate strengths, which is the next lesson. But the immediate result of these 15 questions is this profound sense of purpose.
And once you have that purpose, the next filter to apply is what he calls the filter of desire. This is where you look at your goals through the lens of love versus fear.
And this is one of the most powerful psychological parts of the book, I think. We often don't realize how much of what we do is driven by negative motivation, and that just kills focus.
Okay, so let's break down the difference. What's a love-based goal?
Love-based goals are fueled by something internal. Passion, curiosity, a desire to contribute, or just genuine personal growth. When you work on these goals, you feel energized. The work itself feels rewarding.
So you don't need as much willpower to push through.
Exactly, because the motivation is self-sustaining. It's coming from inside you.
And then the opposite of that would be the fear-based goal.
The fear-based goals, yeah. These are all about external validation or avoiding something bad. They're driven by ego, wanting to look good, needing approval from your boss, or just the fear of falling behind.
And they can be motivating for a short time.
Immensely motivating in the short term. A tight deadline can get you to work, but they are fundamentally draining. You're constantly burning high-value mental energy just to keep going, and that leads straight to burnout and distraction because your brain is just looking for relief.
That makes so much sense. If you're chasing a goal because you'll feel like a failure if you don't get it, your focus is just going to be sabotaged by anxiety.
But if you're pursuing it because you love the process, the focus it flows. So by getting this clarity first, you develop this internal compass, this guardrail.
A filter for everything else.
Exactly. If a new opportunity or a request comes along and it doesn't align with one of your core love-based desires, it's a red flag. It doesn't deserve your attention. And this is all summed up in the book's mantra: clarity is power.
So clarity gives us the direction. And lesson 2 is about making sure we use our energy efficiently to get there.
Right, by leveraging what you're already good at.
This one really hit home for me. We have this cultural idea that improvement means just hammering away at our weaknesses.
Relentlessly. We see a flaw and we throw all our energy at fixing it, often while our natural talents just sit there.
Meurisse argues that's a huge waste of focus.
It's a strategic mistake. When you apply your focus to an area where you're naturally strong, you get a much bigger return on your effort. Maybe 5 or 10 times the return compared to trying to drag a weakness up to just being average.
And it's easier to sustain focus that way.
So much easier, it reduces the mental friction.
So how do we actually identify our strengths? Sometimes it's hard to see them in ourselves because they feel so natural.
The book suggests you look for external evidence, not just what you think about yourself. Ask yourself 3 things. 1, what activities energize you, even when they're hard? 2, where do you create value with, relatively little struggle?
And the third?
And the third, and this is the big one, look for recurring compliments. If multiple people from different parts of your life have complimented you on the same thing.
Like your ability to explain complicated things simply.
Exactly. That's not an accident. That is an objective strength, and it's begging for your focus.
Not a good way to think about it. The thing that's easy for you might be incredibly hard for someone else, and that's your superpower.
The mandate is then very simple. You have to align your main goals with these strengths and your core values. This doesn't mean you stop learning, but it means your big anchor goals. That critical 20% should play to your strengths.
So you delegate or simplify the things that fall in your weak spots.
And you maximize the time you spend in your strength zone. This is what leads to those deep flow states.
Let's talk about that synergy. The book says this is the fast track to flow.
It is, because you're reducing that friction. Flow happens when the challenge perfectly matches your skill. If you're working on something that uses your core strengths, the task feels intuitive. Your brain isn't fighting itself.
Whereas if you're, say, an amazing strategist, but you force yourself to spend hours on detailed accounting work you hate.
You're just burning willpower to overcome the resistance to the task itself. That's energy that should be saved for the hard, strategic thinking.
So by playing to your strengths, you work smarter, you save willpower, and you get more done while feeling more satisfied.
Exactly, and that's what makes this system feel sustainable. It's not about punishing yourself. It's about finding the path of least internal resistance to get the maximum output.
Okay, so that first part gives us the what and the where. We have our direction from clarity and our best vehicle, which is our strengths. Now let's get into the operating system, the actual structure for taking action.
This is where the rubber meets the road. We've done the planning. Now we have to install the framework to make focus a daily habit.
And we start with a trap that I think almost everyone falls into. Confusing effort with results.
The classic ailment of the busy professional, they mistake busyness, which is tactics, for true productivity, which is strategy. We are so good at filling our calendars and answering messages, but a lot of that activity is strategically, well, irrelevant.
Okay, so let's get specific on the book's definitions here. What's strategy?
Strategy is the big picture. It's defining the major milestones for a project, figuring out the key phases, and, most importantly, identifying the very few actions that will actually move you toward those love-based anchor goals. Strategy asks, are we building the right thing?
Tactics are the day-to-day.
The daily grind. Yep. Tactics are the specific actions. Writing an email, formatting a slide, scheduling a meeting. Tactics ask, how do I do this specific thing right now?
And the danger is just jumping from tactic to tactic without any strategy.
That's the danger of chaos. It's the definition of shiny object syndrome. You see a new tool, a new idea, and you jump on it because it feels like progress.
But it's totally disconnected from your main goal.
Completely. A real strategy acts as a brake on that impulse. It forces you to ask, does this specific action move my main goals forward? If the answer's no, you have to ignore it or minimize it, no matter how urgent it feels.
This is where the 80-20 principle, or Pareto's rule, comes in as a practical tool.
It's absolutely vital. Meurisse says the biggest reason we fail at focus is that we spend our best peak energy time on the 80% of tasks that have low impact.
So the key is to identify that valuable 20%. How does he suggest we do that in a complex modern job?
You have to do a really brutal audit of your work. Look back over the last few months. What 1, 2, or 3 projects or actions delivered the most significant results, the most revenue, the biggest creative breakthrough, the most satisfaction?
And that's your 20%.
That's your 20%. Now look at your calendar for tomorrow. If your morning, when your brain is sharpest, is full of responding to non-urgent emails or just sitting in informational meetings, you're sacrificing the strategic 20% for the tactical 80%. Strategic focus means you protect that peak energy for only those high-impact tasks.
Okay, so once the strategy is clear, the next lesson is about protecting that time.
By eliminating the single greatest enemy of focus.
The core insight here is, like you said, brutal but true. Distractions destroy our potential, maybe more than a lack of talent ever could.
Absolutely. You could have world-changing potential, but if your attention is broken every 6 minutes, you'll never access it. Meurisse is very clear. You have to become a ruthless editor of your environment and your mind.
He breaks distractions into 2 categories. Let's start with the easier one to deal with. External distractions.
These are the obvious ones, but we let them run our lives. The lowest hanging fruit is turning off all unnecessary notifications. We have to see them for what they are. Tools designed by other companies to hijack our attention for their profit.
They are the enemy of focus. The book is big on using technology to fight back.
Right. It's non-negotiable. Use website blockers for certain times. Put your phone on, do not disturb. And ideally, put it in another room entirely. Or even a lockbox during your deep work sessions.
And creating a dedicated workspace is part of that.
For sure. A space that tells your brain, this is the focus zone. It makes a huge difference compared to just working at the kitchen table where there's all this other visual noise.
But then there's the really tricky kind. The internal distractions. The mental chatter. The indecision. The feeling that everything is urgent.
Managing that internal noise requires building cognitive control. This can be done with simple rituals, like a 1-minute breathing exercise before you start a task, or a brain dump.
What's a brain dump?
You just take 2 minutes and write down every single worry, to-do, or random thought that's bouncing around in your head. Once it's on paper, your brain knows it won't be forgotten, so it can let go and stop spending energy trying to remember it all.
That's key. You're lowering the cognitive load it takes just to get started.
The whole goal is architectural. You're engineering an environment where focus is the default. If your phone is out of reach and your mind is clear, you don't have to waste willpower deciding to work, you just work. He has a great quote for this. Distractions destroy your focus, making you far less competent than you really are.
Wow, that's a powerful way to put it. So if the environment is engineered for focus, the next step is making sure your calendar is too.
Which brings us to simplifying your schedule.
This lesson hits on an uncomfortable truth. Our calendar, if we let it, ends up defining our lives more than our ambitions do. We just become slaves to old commitments that don't serve us anymore.
That's exactly why Meurisse suggests this radical technique he calls the blank slate technique. It's meant to be dramatic. The idea is you, maybe literally, wipe out all your existing non-essential commitments and rebuild your schedule from zero.
Okay, I can already hear people resisting this one. They have team meetings, family stuff. Wiping the slate clean just sounds impossible. How does the book suggest you actually do that?
It's mainly an audit tool. It forces you to look at every single commitment, even the ones that seem harmless, and ask if it really belongs there. When you rebuild, you only add back two things. First, what is absolutely non-negotiable, like your core work or essential family duties.
Then second.
Second, you add back the protected time blocks for your 2 or 3 strategic anchor goals.
So if a commitment doesn't serve either necessity or your main strategic goals, it doesn't get a spot on the new calendar.
Exactly. And to do that, you have to master the power of saying no. The book reframes this so well. Saying no isn't about being selfish or confrontational. It's an act of respect.
Respect for what?
Respect for your own time, your energy, and the goals you've decided are most important. When you say no to a request, you're not saying no to that person.
Right.
You're saying yes to the deep work that will define your future.
There's a hidden trade-off. Every yes to something non-essential is a no to something that really matters.
Precisely. That unnecessary meeting, that quick favor, it's a no to your health, your family, or your most important project. The power of simplifying your calendar is huge. You eliminate so much anxiety and decision fatigue.
Because you know exactly why everything on your schedule is there.
And that ties into a great quote from the book. Clutter is not just the stuff on your floor, it's anything that stands between you and the life you want to be living. And for most of us, that clutter lives in our overcomplicated, reactive schedules.
We've built the strategy and cleared the decks. Now, the last couple of lessons are about how to sustain this. How do we stop old habits from creeping back in, especially when the world is constantly throwing information at us?
This is such a modern problem, especially for smart, ambitious people. We suffer from information overload. There are endless articles, courses, podcasts.
And it creates this trap that he calls shiny object addiction on learning.
Right. It feels productive because you're always researching or learning, but you never actually do anything.
It's basically a very sophisticated form of procrastination. You're delaying the start of a task because you're afraid to fail, so you just keep consuming more information.
And the solution the book offers is the information budget.
That's a great concept. Treating information like a resource you have to manage. How does that work in practice?
First, you have to define exactly what you need to learn to move your project forward. You don't just read randomly, you read with a very specific question. Second, you set a fixed budget of time or resources. For example, I'm going to spend 90 minutes on Monday morning learning this one thing, and then the budget is closed.
And you have to shift immediately into action.
That's the critical part, the shift from learning to doing. You will learn far more by actually trying, failing, and iterating than you ever will by just reading more. If you wait until you feel 100% ready, you will never start.
And that's the definition of analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
You're just stuck, delaying the real work under the excuse of needing more prep.
The information budget breaks that cycle. It forces you to remember that learning is just a tactic. The strategy is execution. You get just enough fuel to get off the ground, and then you learn by flying.
Okay, finally, we have to deal with the hidden energy drains, the tiny barriers that kill our focus before we even start.
This brings us to the last lesson, removing workflow friction.
We've already established that focus needs to be easy and distraction needs to be hard. This lesson is about engineering that path of least resistance towards your most important work.
It's all about managing activation energy. Think about all the little hurdles you have to jump over just to start a task. Logging into different systems, finding the right file, remembering where you left off.
And all those little hurdles drain your willpower.
They do. Willpower should be saved for the actual hard work, not for fighting with your own setup, so we need to remove that friction.
What's the biggest, easiest win here?
The simplest and most effective is to prepare your workspace the night before.
So at the end of the day, before you shut down, You set up your desk for the next morning's most important task.
Exactly. You leave the right document open on your computer, you pull out the physical notebook, you have the right tabs open in your browser. When you sit down in the morning, the task is literally one click away. You eliminate all that searching and decision making.
And what about other friction removers?
Using technology to your advantage. Automate repetitive tasks. If you send the same email over and over, make a template. Use templates for reports or meeting agendas so you're not always starting from a blank page.
It's about making the starting process as seamless as possible.
The fewer barriers between you and your focused work, the less willpower you burn. It's about knowing what to ignore. There's a quote that fits this perfectly. The art of being wise is the art of knowing what to overlook.
In this context, that means knowing which little friction points to eliminate so you can save all your mental energy for the stuff that actually matters.
That's it.
Okay, we've covered the 7 core lessons, from big picture clarity all the way down to sustainable daily habits. Let's pull this all together now into an actionable blueprint that you can start using today.
This is the implementation guide. We've broken down the book's entire philosophy into 10 practical steps you can take over the next week to really see a change.
Let's run through them. Step 1. Answer the 15 focus clarity questions.
This is where it all starts. Block out 30-45 minutes, no interruptions. Physically write down the answers. This gives you the direction for everything else.
Step 2. List your natural strength and recurring compliments.
Figure out where your energy flows easily. This confirms where you should be putting your focus to get the biggest results and helps you feel okay about delegating the rest.
Step 3. Define 2 to 3 anchor goals that are aligned with your values.
These are your strategic milestones. They have to be love-based, and they have to use your strengths. If something doesn't support these goals, it's just a distraction.
Step 4. Implement the blank slate technique on your calendar.
Do the audit. Wipe out everything that isn't absolutely essential. Then rebuild your schedule by adding back only the non-negotiables and, crucially, protected, immovable blocks of time for those anchor goals.
Step 5. Block external distractions.
This one gives you an immediate win. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Use tools like website blockers and do not disturb mode to make distraction difficult during your focus blocks.
Step 6. Design a work start ritual.
Create a consistent trigger that tells your brain it's time for deep work. It can be simple, making a cup of tea, a 2-minute breathing exercise, but do it consistently every single time.
Step 7. Adopt an 80-20 mindset.
Every morning, identify the one task that will give you the biggest strategic return, and do that task first during your peak energy time. Fight the urge to do the easy, low-value stuff first.
Step 8. Set an information budget.
Beat analysis paralysis. For any new project, give yourself a fixed amount of time for research. Once that time is up, you must shift to execution, even if you don't feel 100% ready.
Step 9. Automate and use templates to reduce friction.
Find the little hurdles in your workflow and eliminate them. Use templates for common tasks. Automate what you can, save your willpower for the real work.
And finally, Step 10. Review your focus strategy weekly.
Focus is a skill you have to maintain. Take 15 minutes at the end of each week to review. See what worked, what didn't, and adjust your system to make sure you stay aligned with your goals.
That blueprint is a perfect, comprehensive path to follow. As we wrap up this summary of powerful focus, let's just synthesize that central mindset shift one more time.
I think the central truth of the book is really a huge relief. It's that focus isn't something you have to suffer for. It's something you design. It's built through small, consistent habits. If you're struggling to focus, it's almost always a systems problem, not a character flaw.
Let's review the top 5 key lessons from the book, the core truths.
First, clarity first, focus follows. If you feel lost, stop trying to focus harder. Go back to the questions. You have to know what you want before you can pursue it effectively.
Second, eliminate distractions ruthlessly. Your potential is worth protecting. Distractions aren't harmless. They actively make you less competent than you really are.
Third, focus is built daily. It's about the compounding effect of small habits. Every time you say no to a distraction and yes to a focus block, you're strengthening that skill.
Fourth, strategy over busy work. Prioritize purpose, not just hustle. Direct your best energy to the critical 20% of tasks that actually produce results.
And fifth, simplify to amplify. Complexity is the enemy of focus. Declutter your time, your energy, and your attention to make the path toward your most important work the easiest path to follow.
It's clear that powerful focus is just a really direct, no-fluff guide to winning back our most valuable resource, our attention, in a world that's basically designed to steal it.
And here's a final thought to leave you with. Focus doesn't just change what you do, it fundamentally defines your reality. If you let your attention get pulled into chaos and urgency, you are actively creating a chaotic and urgent life for yourself.
That's a powerful idea.
But if you intentionally build focus, if you protect your attention and direct it toward what you truly value, then the ceiling on what you can achieve, both professionally and personally, just disappears.
The choice is ours. And this summary of powerful focus gives you the framework to start making that change today. If you found this summary helpful and insightful, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the Book by Book channel for more helpful book summaries just like this one.
And please share it with anyone else you think could benefit from reclaiming their focus.
And finally, be sure to like this summary. It really motivates our team to keep bringing you the very best book summaries we can find.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Now go out there and put that powerful focus to good use.